Hello and welcome to the wonderful Feel It Friday of the live inspirational community collaboration show. My name is Markabadi. It's such a pleasure to be able to hold space for people to come on and share their gifts and their insight and their wisdom. So please like, share, do all that fun stuff underneath. We have phenomenal guests today. Both of these people actually I met at Bhakti Fest. I had the pleasure of producing that festival, which is a conscious unfolding of space holding for people to come and experience the divinity and the grace of the divine. So my first guest is Jeffrey Armstrong, who is by all intents and purposes a specialist in the Vedic field of understanding the origins of language. The Sanskrit is the origin of all European languages, so understanding all those aspects. He's been a yoga teacher and a Vedic Dharmic studies practitioner for 50 years, and now full-time coaches and helps people through the understanding of this integrated form of wellness from the origins of the original teachings. There's so much more. Jeffrey Armstrong, welcome to the show.
Namaste, Mark. It's great to see you.
So nice to see you. And, of course, as normal, butchered your intro, but I do want to read out, some of the things. You're the founder of the VASA, the Vedic Academy of Scientific Arts. You're also the chairman of the VFA, which is the Vedic Friends Association, and a scholar of the British Board of Dharmic Scholars. Right now, obviously, in the website below, you can see, in the links below, everyone can see your links to your page so they can find out more about you. Where are you at the moment and how are you?
We're in Vancouver, Canada, and we're delightful, doing very, very well. Like the animals of nature, when yogis have to spend a lot of time in their abode and meditating, it doesn't make us unhappy, it makes us deeply happy.
Right.
Because we have so much quiet time. We live near the airport, and the airplanes that used to go overhead are not. The garbage trucks that used to back up and make noise all the time are not. So this is the quietest. We're in a penthouse apartment on the 18th floor, and it's the quietest it's been for a century.
Well, I mean, there are benefits to this. A lot of the people in the spiritual community are really somehow enjoying this moment. Are you also, or are you just always enjoying things?
Well, a little bit of both, I would say. After all, to be a teacher of the yogic skills is to practice them. And the practice of those skills is to always stay in a joyful state of being and to correct your situation when you're not, as we all drift from one side to the other due to our surroundings. So this is an opportunity to be of service to many people, because many of my students and clients as an astrologer have called me in a state of distress of one kind or the other, and I've been of service to them over the last couple of months. So both things.
So what are some of the things that you're noticing coming up in this time with your clients?
Well, of course, the main confrontation, it depends on who you are.
Right.
My first joke when the whole COVID thing started was that the run on the grocery stores was for junk food and toilet paper.
Right.
So the junk food's the problem, and the toilet paper is getting rid of the evidence.
Yeah.
So on one level, people who don't have a healthy lifestyle are probably becoming aware of the fact that they don't have one.
Right.
And on the other level, those who do have a healthy lifestyle are no doubt happy because of that lifestyle.
So is this something that you've you study Vedic astrology as well? Is this something that astrology has explanations for? Are there certain things going on in the astrological bodies that govern us that are like, oh yeah, I can see that this planets in conjunct with this planet?
Well, your question is, does the cosmos impinge upon our planet?
Yes.
And the answer is pretty obvious, that it does. So it's a matter of your perspective. If for some reason you think we only live for one life, then the idea of cause and effect over time would not make much sense to you. But if you believe that we're immortal beings, visiting a temporary place within matter, then you would think that we're here in what I call university, not just a universe. We're learning from life to life, and we're working on projects from life to life that are of interest to us. So you could say that yoga views us as interesting immortal beings on a long journey, and that at each moment the cosmos is giving us feedback, both as a society and as an individual, on the things that we've been doing previously. In other words, it takes time for our cause and effect to catch up to us.
Right.
That's astrology.
Right.
You can't know everything with astrology, but we can know some pretty interesting things, that's for sure.
And one of the other things that we talked about were the origins of words, the etymology of things. And your specialty is in having studying the Vedic texts. Can you talk to us about how you got into that and why it's so why it pulled you in?
Well, first and foremost, I was actually a poet from a quite young age, which shows you that I was deeply involved in looking at words and trying to learn how to use them correctly so that they conveyed meaning. You could say I was a truth seeker from a quite young age. So that interest in words led me to look for a civilization with the most interesting library. If you just look for that, then the culture of India has the largest library in the world. That is to say, before Gutenberg and the printing press, because you don't count that.
Right.
Because a myriad of meaningless and not so useful books have come out since the printing press. But in ancient times, every culture was endowed with a particular gift of certain wisdom. And what makes India different from other cultures, from all other cultures, is the magnitude of their library of wisdom and the amazing and important things that that library contains. So I was led to that library by just being a hungry student.
Right.
And learned of its language, Sanskrit, because in order to study a culture, you must learn its language some. So just as it used to be that Latin was taught in our schools, because it's one of the classical languages behind English, or the European languages, some of them. So similarly, the Greek language is sitting behind Latin. But you see, for the last few hundred years, when England was colonizing India, it was not easy for them to say that this is the most ancient, intelligent culture on the planet. Right. Kind of embarrassing when you're stealing everything and then complimenting someone.
Right.
So you could say they weren't complimentary and they didn't help this to come forward. So that's part of what I'm doing now, is showing that behind Greek, Latin, European languages, Aramaic, Phoenician, Hebrew, and English is Sanskrit.
Why is it important to understand? Like, it's great to have the history and to get recognition. Okay, so this came from this, but why do we care now? Doesn't everyone know what anyone's saying to them?
Well, there's two reasons. The first is, tell me, how would a computer programmer do without a language?
Wouldn't be able to program.
That's it. So think of us in our body as programmers who are trying to extract the potential from our being. We know that it's there. We've seen others extract it. We've seen others excel in various ways. So one challenge to all of us is looking at ourselves and finding the ways to extract the potential, which others have obviously done, and to bring that out so that our life is more excellent, more exciting, more joyful, more interesting. The second part is not all languages are the same. I'll give you an example. The higher mathematics of modern science actually came from India. It's well established. How do I know that? Well, I'll tell you a secret. Try to do Roman numerals and program your computer. X, X, V, I would not program a computer. It was binary mathematics, ones and zeros, a mathematics discovered in India that was what made it possible to program your computer. Right. The Greeks, on the other hand, hated zero, hated it, feared it, and hated it. So they didn't like mathematics either of any higher level because they too had amateurish mathematics. So in fact, science did not come from either of those cultures. It came from the place where mathematics came from, which is India and the Sanskrit language. So did astronomy and many other sciences, but they've all been colonized. So we have been told that we invented. This would be like the Koh-i-Noor gem in the British Museum and saying, we invented this. No, it was stolen from the eyes of the deity in India. Right. So what we've taken from everyone else is not originated in us, but it was originated in a brilliant culture. So that's one aspect of the Vedic culture. Now the second is there was a tremendous amount of information about introspection and about who we really are that was given to that civilization. It's what we now call yoga, which means linking yourself to some higher energetic state of understanding and downloading that, just like this call. If it wasn't satellite downloaded, it wouldn't be useful because no one would receive it.
Right.
So think of that as a kind of channeling. You're being a channel right now.
So,
and that channeling is what yoga originally is.
So yoga's the study to, I mean, the word yoga means union, right? I mean, that's my Western understanding of it. Is that correct?
Not quite. It actually means connection.
Connection, right.
And union is the result of connection to some degree. But was it a marriage, a friendship, a high five? What kind of union? So what it means is access to a reality that doesn't appear obvious.
So
that's yoga.
Yes. So you mentioned that yoga was designed to help us know who we really are. Who are we really?
Well, we only have two choices, really. But once you've decided one of these two, it'll decide everything else. You either have only one life, and that's that.
Right.
Or you're an immortal being and you can't die. If you wanted to control people, which of those two would you tell them?
Oh yeah, one-off option. Watch out.
One-off. I call it use once, throw away. That's how we're treating our planet, isn't it?
Yes. Disposable.
So use once, throw away came from various philosophical systems of thought that appeared to want to scare their followers into submission, dominate them, give them a few interesting ideas, but didn't want them to think too much or didn't believe they could think too much. But if you hold the view that we're immortal beings visiting a temporary planet, that's a big worldview. This is the Sanskrit word Mahatma. It means big-minded. And the smaller mindedness of only one lifetime is called duratma. Like duress. When you want to put someone under duress, you scare them. So the frightened, small-minded viewpoint of existence is there's only one life, the clock is ticking, and then I'll be gone. The brave, large-minded, big view is that I'm an immortal being and so are all these other entities around me, and that all of us are visiting here And we can't die. We're just here gathering experience. Which view sounds more fun to you?
Yeah, definitely the immortal being gathering the experience.
So if you don't make it too dogmatic, if you just leave it that way, that's what this means. It means I see that you are, like I see myself, an immortal being. And I respect you because of that, even if I don't know who you are.
How does this connect to the Buddhist philosophy of reincarnation?
Well, you have to look at every great teacher in the context of their historical moment. So at the time Buddha appeared in India, he was facing a time in India's history where the teachers had memorized the knowledge, but morally they were not all acting as they should. And he was a reformer. He wanted to fix that. He wanted to get people back to fundamental values. So that's why the Buddha Dharma is, number one, about fundamental values, and number two, Nirvana or Nirvan simply means nothing belongs to me. In Sanskrit, van means one who owns or possesses, and nir means nothing. So Nirvana is not a positive affirmation of a state of existence, but it's an important thing to say to anyone within matter, that none of this is yours, even if you think so. So Buddha did an important thing. He upped the moral game, and he brought people to a higher understanding of what they weren't, getting them ready to understand again who they are.
You see, just that simple reframe of the word nirvana. I mean, nirvana obviously is a very popular word. People know it, not just because of the rock group, but, you know, yes, everyone wants nirvana. They think it's like bliss and perfect being. But from the Sanskrit there, the origins of it is I possess nothing. Right? So I have nirvana means I have nothing.
That's right. It means I don't own anything. Doesn't mean I don't have it,
right?
But I don't own anything that I apparently have. It's just passing through, and so am I. So there's no permanent affiliation between me and all these particles of matter. Just like our body, it's just the lunch we had for the last couple of years. It's particles, I call it the lunch body because it's particles of food orbiting consciousness.
But
this is what yoga teaches.
Yeah, and people talk about them wanting to achieve this. Oh, I want to get to nirvana. I want to get to bliss. I want to get to heaven. Do you think all aspects of this search for this ultimate heavenist experience are all equally futile?
Well, you've got to watch saying, I want to go to nothing.
Right.
Because nothing is not a place you can go to. So there's an inherent paradox in saying you want to go there. And who will ever affirm that you went there? You can't, because you don't exist. No one else can, because they're an illusion.
Right.
So no one could ever prove that they went to nowhere, because nowhere isn't provable.
Yeah, because there's no one else there to see it,
to approve it or affirm it.
Right.
So, but this is a stage of understanding. None of this is mine. That's brilliant. That's a brilliant contribution historically, which he gave us at a moment when it was very necessary. But let's say the next thing, which is, I am a luminous being. The reason I like light so much, and that light is the source of life, is this where we come from. If you want to know who we are, we're little particles of light that can't be extinguished. That's who I am. I'm the part you can't destroy. So that's called Brahman. Now, here's the rule with language. Because we don't have that word in English, nobody in English can say what I just said. Because they don't have a word for the place where everything is luminous and there's no matter. But the Veda and the Sanskrit has those words so that we can discuss concepts that are everyday object-oriented languages. Here's my glass, pass the water.
Right.
That's indisputable. But tell me what love means. This is a glass. We didn't argue over that. As soon as I say, what does love mean? You go, and now it's a big subjective subject.
So because we don't... Yeah.
Brahman is the name for the reality where what we call light is coming from. in Sanskrit.
So because we don't have that word in English, are you saying then that using the English language to discuss higher level concepts is lame?
Let's just say it's a sloppy programming language. It's even sloppier than Greek or Latin. And they're improved upon. Their language is a little more rigorous, a little more precise. Let's think of it as precision. The reason Latin is used as a scientific language in English is because it's more exact and more precise. Mm-hmm. So why is science only about objects? Why isn't it also about ultimate truth? Why aren't there words for ultimate realities that are not made of matter?
Yeah. I suppose because language by itself has definition to it. It has edges. And in the ultimate non-defined space, there's no edge. And so nothing to be defined by.
Well, be careful that you don't jump to conclusions at this stage of our conversation. I didn't say that. You did.
Aha.
I didn't say there's no definitions there. I said there's no matter.
No matter, yeah.
If definitions come from matter, that's a different thing.
Right.
But what if our identity is not matter? Well, then our identity came from Brahman and not from here within matter. So matter is called prakriti. Pra-kri-iti. Pra, in English, gives us the word produce. Kri is the root of karma, which means doing over and over by cause and effect. And iti means again and again and again. So matter in Sanskrit is prakriti, the place where things are born and die and born and die and born and die in a process based on serial cause and effect that happens over and over and over and over again.
So it's like the toroidal creating matter out of the plasma that is the energy.
And the matter appears to us when it's closer to being matter, so we can pick it up.
Okay.
Have a tangible relationship with it. But because we don't pick something up doesn't mean it's not true. What makes us conscious? Is the consciousness arising from matter, but matter is inert? But let me ask you this. When you see beauty in life, doesn't it make a promise to you?
A promise? Does beauty make
Yes.
a promise?
Beauty promises satisfaction. Beauty
promises.
Says, wouldn't you like to be like me? Wouldn't you like to have this? As one of the great poets said in English, truth is beauty and beauty is truth. Hmm. So there's something in beauty that is driving the whole show. And everyone's running after that beauty to have it. So think about that.
Right.
If you only have one life, then how many years do you have to run after the beauty? Just a few. Does everyone get the beauty? Most don't. Most get a few tastes and then they don't get it. And now, so is it a sort of a tease show to show you beauty and then dump you after half an hour of hungering for beauty and say, sorry, you can't have it? If that's what life's about, then I'm not interested personally. I think it's disgusting. Anyone who created beauty couldn't possibly have such a disgusting conclusion. So the real question is, where does beauty come from? How can I get some? How can I get an unlimited amount? Mm. But everything here is limited. Right. So maybe I won't be able to get it here. So yoga points us to another direction and says, sorry, you're not from here.
So it seems like there are these two dimensions. There's the matter dimension, and then there's the, for want of a better term, energy dimension.
Think of it this way. Think of us as in the tangibility of matter. And we see it and study it. Earth, mm-hmm. Water, fire, air, space, periodic table of elements. You can analyze it all day long. But the matter is unconscious. It shows no sign of consciousness. This glass has not shown any signs of consciousness since I've known it. So, I am fundamentally different. Even though my body is evolving as I live year after year after year, I'm still the same consciousness inside. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Dehinosmin yata dehe komaram yovanam jara tata dehantaras praptir diras tatra namoyate. It says, as the embodied Atma, divine being, goes from childhood to youth to old age. Similarly, when their body is no longer useful, they leave and go somewhere else. A person who knows yoga does not get confused by these comings and goings. In other words, a yogi is not the least bit afraid of their body falling away and them moving on.
Because they have identity in the non-matter area?
No, it's not their identity. It's not who they are. It's where they are. It's where they're visiting. It's like if you go to Arizona, you're not an Arizonian. You're visiting Arizona. You don't automatically become an Arizonian just because.
So are we visiting the matter, or are we visiting the energy?
We're visiting matter right now, which is why we can't stay in any one place. It's kind of embarrassing, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah, and we have to keep eating and then going to the toilet, eating and going to the toilet. That's kind of awkward. Would you choose to do that if you could change it? No, thank you very much. I would eat and the waste would disappear magically and I wouldn't be bothered. So if you say, I'm completely happy here, I have everything I want, you must be a billionaire who are temporarily deluded by your money. It's like Howard Hughes. He lived in a single room in the top floor of an apartment building with hair down to his waist and long fingernails, and he had billions of dollars in his bank. Didn't help him any. So yoga says consciousness is what will help you, the correct state of consciousness. And therefore, to reprogram your being, you need language, because language is how you reprogram. Therefore, you need Sanskrit, because it's the language that talks about things that are not material. It talks about realities that are beyond matter.
So in the reality that's beyond matter, are there limits in that reality?
Within matter.
Outside of the matter. What's the other reality?
There are no limits as we know them, because it's a different kind of energy. So if you think right now, our experience of light here is, if I have a certain amount of light, it's dependent upon my supply of electricity. So it's very limited. By comparison, does the sun show any signs of limitation on its energy?
No.
No. So if there's a magnitude of difference between my electricity and the sun's, then where does the sun come from? So would there not be even more of that luminous energy where the sun comes from? So if you had to go to a place, would you rather go to a completely dark place that never sees light again, or a completely light place where there's always an abundance of light?
Yeah, option-wise, you choose light, yeah.
And the only people that want the dark are mushrooms. They, obviously, if you've given up all hope, you'd want the dark.
So in this other place beyond matter, is there no duality anymore?
Yeah, that's the concept. One of the concepts within matter is that everything here is in a kind of push-pull contest. It's like our body. Our body is designed so that different parts of our body are pushing and pulling against our body.
Yes.
So you might say our body is an argument, and we're standing in the center of the argument.
Right.
If the argument goes bad, we get what's called a disease.
Yeah.
It didn't go well, and the balance got lost. So that's not us. We're the one walking the tightrope. We're the one walking the wire in the midst of the body that is full of opposites. But we could think, this is me because it's all I know.
Mm-hmm.
So that's considered the starting point for us as human beings, just up from animals. And that's why there's no animals watching this on television, right? Or at least understanding it if there was.
Yes, exactly, yeah.
So the human ability is to ask these questions about who am I, where do I come from, why was I born, why do I get old, and ultimately, why do I appear to die, even though I do not want any of those things.
And do you think there's a danger in this that we can start to overthink and get lost within the Maya? What's your understanding and interpretation of the Maya and its its ability to sort of suck us in and like, come, you can find the answers down here, and it just takes you down the rabbit hole, but you're not actually going anywhere. You're not leaving.
That's an excellent question. So let's look at it this way. Let's say that you're at a movie, and the movie's being broadcast onto a stone wall. That's a good reflecting surface for the movie. And the movie is so attractive, you keep running toward the wall and slamming into it and bloodying your nose because you want to be in the movie.
Right.
Raise your hand if you've ever watched a movie and thought, I'd like to be in that movie. I'd like to be with that guy or that girl or that thing or that scene. Or it's so beautiful. That's why we watch movies. We pay money to be fooled. Okay, so now let's think that about the 10th time you do that, you kind of stay on the floor. You don't walk back. And you see that what's on the screen and the screen are two different things. Got it? So the image is not the screen. And that's why you keep getting a bloody nose. So you turn around. That's called Nirvana. Nirvana is when you turn around and turn your back to matter and say, you can't help me. And you look up at the light. And the light's shining down from some bright, luminous spot up there. And the light looks different in every stage of its downward journey. But it's obviously where the beauty on the wall is coming from, so you start following it back. Okay? Now you're an ascended master. Now you're on your way, following the light back to its source. You're now a yogi. And at a certain point, you get to the lens of the projector, and you put your eye right up against it. But it's so beautiful, so bright, and so light that it blinds you, and for a moment you forget why you were doing what you were doing, because it's overwhelmingly bright. So you conclude it's all one. It's all just light. At each stage, these are reasonable conclusions, but the question hasn't been answered yet, which was originally, where does the beauty on the screen come from? So the next stage is you go inside the lens of the projector, and you find yourself in the projection room where they're projecting the movie onto the screen. And these are called the devas, the divine beings who are making the material world operate.
So
the ultimate deva is Brahma and Saraswati, the creator. So you could say that beyond the camera, the projector, is the place where they made the movie that you're watching, that you want to be in. Now the actors and actresses are all there. Now the images that are being projected through matter are all there. At that stage, you now encounter a different kind of individuality, a different kind of reality. And this demonstrates first nirvana, when you realize you're not the screen and you don't keep trying to have it. Your desires slow down, right? Then you look up toward the light, then you go up and ascend at different levels. On the way, you're an ascended master, so to speak. And then you get to the light, put your eye right up against it, and all you see is white light. If you stop there, you'll say, everything I thought was something else is just white light.
Right.
Or you go inside and find out how the movie's being made.
So
these are all stages of yoga.
So beyond the white light, where you're at a state where you're going, everything is one. Beyond the white light, are you saying there's some stuff there? There's creatures, there's
not
beings.
Stuff, but what I'm saying is that the forms that we're seeing within matter exist first within the light. And I'm not saying it, the Vedas say it.
Right.
The Vedas say that that's what's actually true, but that at each stage of realization, when you're absorbed in the movie, you'll think there's only the movie.
Right.
When you're at Nirvana, when you find out the movie's an illusion, you go, that movie's a complete illusion. Turn your back on it. Then when you go to the light and blend with it, you'll think this is ultimate. This is the ultimate experience I ever had.
Right.
But the Vedas keep going, and they say, yes, keep going, keep going.
Right.
Oneness is just a stage. Emptiness is just a stage. because neither emptiness or oneness explain beauty. Just think about it. Beauty needs to be explained, not dismissed. Philosophically, this is hugely important.
Yeah.
If you dismiss beauty, I have a saying about this for scientists, and that is, a scientist is someone who can tell you everything about the love letter, but has never read it.
Right.
In other words, they're not an artist, a poet. They're not a painter, a dancer, a musician. Where does the musician grab beauty from and bring it down to their instrument? Where does it live so they can grab it and bring it down? How did Beethoven write that Fifth Symphony, that remarkable piece, the Moonlight Sonata, that blows your mind every time you hear it? So is it a complete illusion? Then what do you have to look forward to if everything is a complete illusion? Why would you even search for emptiness beyond illusion?
For the freedom of the being free from the illusion would be one answer.
This is the first step. That is, you no longer think the beauty exists inside the matter. That's Nirvana.
Turning your back on the projector screen and seeing where the light's
Turn
coming
your back
from.
on the movie and you go, that can't satisfy.
Right.
Then you follow the light back to its source. That's Brahman. Brahman is, in Sanskrit, the source of the light. And then you say, Aham Brahmasmi, I am the light.
So, I mean, this is, it's fascinating that there's like a descriptive path explaining things. So where does the beauty come from then? And is beauty not in the eye of the beholder?
Yeah, no, it's not in the eyes of the beholder. It's reflected into the eyes of the beholder. They're not making it up. They're not that powerful. If they were, they wouldn't have this problem. They can't invent this whole thing because they're not that brilliant. They're brilliant enough to go there, but they're not brilliant enough to invent the whole thing. Otherwise, we'd see them doing it all the time. So really, they're captured by the beauty, whether they see it within themselves or outside. And they want it, and they go and grab it as if it was an object. Okay? And then they get frustrated and say, no, that didn't give me what I want. I quit. It's all nothing. That's just sour grapes. The beauty still exists. You just didn't have the right relationship to the beauty. So you said, sour grapes, it's all an illusion. No, it's not an illusion. It's a reflection.
Right. It's not an illusion, it's a reflection.
Follow the reflection back. You have to follow the light, because light is the source of all of this. No light, and there's nothing to talk about. Turn the lights off right now, turn all the light off right now, and you and I are done. Interview over. It's only the light that makes this possible. So within it, whatever is interesting, whatever is leading us somewhere, is either leading us to an obvious dead end, which we should be able to predict after a while,
right,
within matter, or it's not deluding us, it's pointing us and answering the question. Beauty doesn't come from somewhere, it exists somewhere forever.
Okay, so we've got the existence of beauty beyond the everything.
Beyond the realm of matter.
Right, and at some point there's just the light and everything's light.
Only from your perception.
Right.
You look at it and that's all you see.
Okay, so it's
you
a
don't see
perceptual
the light,
thing.
the beauty within the light.
Right.
Any more than you would see the film if you put your eye up against the projector.
And in the place where the beauty is originating, is
then
there...
all the actors and actresses are there.
So Jeffrey is there?
No, Jeffrey's not there, but beings are there. Jeffrey is the persona of whoever I really am here within matter this lifetime. Jeffrey's just a mannequin.
Right. So the you that's powering the mannequin is there.
Is there.
And
now sees everyone else and myself in a very unique way. So this is why yoga takes many lifetimes, because these are deep subjects. It takes a while to get them, and it's why you need Sanskrit words, so you can reprogram your understanding from just dealing with objects to dealing with realities and their existence. Now, one more secret to this.
Yeah.
The way light comes into this world and manifests is through sound vibration.
Right. I totally agree with that.
Even the Hebrew texts have this. In the beginning was the Word.
Word was God.
Eko bahunam yo vididati kaman. in the beginning was a vibration of truth that was luminous and bright and carried all of this reality within matter and projected it onto the screen of matter. And there we are, trying to figure it out. Here we are, down inside of it, trying to figure it out. And at every stage, each thinker is somewhere either terribly lost or improving their perspective and seeing more from a different angle.
Yeah. I mean, can we think our way out of thinking here?
Well, that's what the saying in the yoga teachings is. That's what a guru is for. You could theoretically, but the likelihood of it really happening is pretty small. So, I mean, you could get a revelation at any moment that makes you smarter than you are. And that's all of us, not just you. So you could get that blinding revelation. But more likely is that thinking helps you to progress until it becomes direct experience.
Right, right.
And direct experience is a very different thing, as anyone who has experience knows. Theoretical knowledge and realized knowledge.
Right.
So that's called jnana, J-N-A-N-A, where the word knowing comes from in English. And gnosis, like a diagnosis, that's from the Sanskrit jnana, to know. So knowing eventually becomes vijnana, and that is realized knowing, not theoretical,
right,
but directly realized. So this is why yogis don't just think, they clear the body and make sure they balance its energies. Because if they're too out of balance, you can't hold the right focus.
Right.
Then instead of thinking these ideas, they use mantras to hold them as a meditation. And then in that meditation, they stay for long periods of time, being in direct contact with particular ideas. But you can see most human beings would not feel comfortable being that isolated and taking such command over their vehicle.
Yeah.
So most human beings are still limited and find Ashtanga yoga practice too difficult. There are other methods of yoga, and this is why yogis are of different stripes and flavors. So you could say there are different methods of making this journey back.
So the journey back is taking us from thought, knowledge, into realization, or thought, knowledge.
Taking us from bondage to matter.
Right.
To able to see what's being reflected in matter without getting into bondage. So therefore, we're actually able to go where everything is coming from when the time is right. And that's called, in Sanskrit, moksha.
Moksha.
Now, you'll notice that the word mo entered our language as emotion, as motor, as motivate. So, if what you saw when you got to that point created bigger emotions than anything within matter ever had, would it be a difficult choice to tell where to go?
No.
No. You'd go, okay, I'm going there. That's how you direct yourself here. You see the trailer to the movie and you decide to see the movie. So here, if you finally get to that point, there's no argument about where you'd like to stay, but from the outside, it looks like you've given up. So to the people still attached to matter as the definition of self, so it's very simple. If you say, aham kara, I am this vehicle, and that's where the word car in English comes. I am the car. So imagine if you were with someone who was in their automobile and they were saying, I am a Chevy. Chevy is what I am. You'd look at them and say, do you really believe that? And they'd go, yeah, I'm the car, man. I am all about this car. So what if this is just your Chevy or your Volkswagen or your Cadillac, whatever it is just your vehicle.
Right.
So if you think this is you, you are just as deluded as the person who gets in their car and thinks they're their car.
They're the car, yeah. Okay, so you've got a person and they're like, okay, this all sounds great, Jeffrey. I love the idea of this. I want to realize.
Want to what?
realize. I want to realize the light.
You realize.
I want to realize the beauty. What
Right.
do I do?
Well, thanks. That's the next secret, of course. You have to have someone who gives you practices. If you want to become a sports professional of some kind, without a coach showing you the just right way to do a particular thing, you're very unlikely to figure it out yourself in time.
Mm.
But when somebody shows you the secret to something, you go, amazing. Look at that. There's a just right way to hold the bat, or a just right way to throw the ball. And as soon as you know that, all the obstacles are removed. That's guru. But guru is acting as our coach for self-identity. And that's why it's not a club you join, it's not a sect, it's not a religion, it's not a worship per se, and it's not faith. It's an activity, and you have a coach, the guru, and the coach tells you practices, and if you don't practice them, imagine you have a sports coach that was an Olympic star. Right. I had an Olympic fencing master. So he had won gold medals as a fencer.
Uh-huh.
So he was teaching us fencing. So would you respect him or disrespect him?
I respect. He's Olympic.
So how would you show your respect?
Doing what he told you.
Exactly.
Right.
And so you wouldn't have given up your free will. You would have surrendered it to someone you think is worthy of it. That's a guru. If you try to give your free will up, they'll hand it back to you and say, that's not the part that I take. All I take is your respect, and I teach you how to perfect you. Anything else is not what I do. So anyone else who says they're a guru but deviates from that is not a guru. All gurus have the same code of conduct. I don't take from you. I'm here to give you these techniques so that you may perfect yourself. But if you don't practice them, my giving them to you will not solve the dilemma.
Right. So
once again, the guru will give you language and mantras and practices that will facilitate achieving these goals.
So the guru himself or their self,
his or her.
Yeah. Their point is to provide a reflection for you to realize yourself.
No, that's not the whole of it, but that's part of it. It's true they're supposed to show this by their personal example of action, but it's also because they're the conveyor of the techniques. So they should be living what they're teaching, no doubt.
Okay.
So in that sense, they show it to you. The word is acharya. You hear car in there again? It means
chariot,
someone who moves the way they teach.
Acharya.
Acharya, someone who actually embodies what they're saying. So it's not theoretical. They also do it every day. Still, they don't say, I perfected that. They do it every day still. So if you lived with them, you'd watch them get up and do it every day at certain times to make sure they stay in that state of being.
So are we, what happens to the personality? Like what happens to Markabadi when the me realizes itself in the light and beyond?
Well, Markabadi has to die sometime.
Yeah, but let's assume
that doesn't mean you do.
Okay,
so what happens is you see yourself as the Atma, as this immortal being, and you see your vehicle, your persona. The word automobile means one's own way of moving around.
Okay.
Auto, one's own self, mobile. So at that point, you see Markabadi as your automobile.
Right.
And you see the consciousness that has identified with Markabadi as the Atma, as the immortal being.
Okay.
You no longer confuse the two, just like you don't get in a car and confuse yourself with the car.
Yeah.
Or the driver with the car, or the chauffeur with the car.
So then what about the practical notions of the personality and its, chopping wood before enlightenment, chopping wood after?
Well, English doesn't have useful words for this because English has never tried to say these things. So this is why it's more difficult to talk about. But if you talk about it with Sanskrit, then you have very precise vocabulary for the being that is not connected to matter, only temporarily connected to matter. So this is the word Atma. If you'd like to think of that, the word atomic came from the Sanskrit Atma through the Greek and Latin atome. Atome means you can't cut it. It turns out we did cut the atom,
Right.
but you can't cut the Atma. So it meant originally the uncuttable being at the center of what you're calling self.
Right.
That is the source of consciousness animating it. That cannot be cut, killed, moistened, destroyed. That will go up from body to body to body. And you've already had thousands and thousands and even millions of bodies before you became Markabadi.
So the Atma, the uncuttable, is it also the undivided, the unlimited?
And there are Sanskrit words for each of those. It's inconceivable, it's achintya.
Okay.
It's undividable, and so on and so forth.
So if it's undividable, is there any difference between my Atma and your Atma?
Of course.
But then it's divided.
You are yours and I am mine. And that individuality wasn't created by our coming into matter. It is what we brought into matter. That's the part where you go behind the projector, right, and you see the actors. In other words, according to the Vedas, this world is a movie made in the image of the realm of Brahman, where there are individuals. The part that's achintya is to understand that those individuals are not in an illusory body. They're in a primary state of being that is not illusory.
Ooh, so I feel like we're getting somewhere close to where we had our last conversation a couple of years ago. But this notion of if the Atma is the undividable, but yet my Atma is different from your Atma, then doesn't that by definition mean there's two of them and thus they're separate?
Let's use the word distinct because English is tricky again.
Yeah.
Let's say that distinct from, not divided, not dualistic, but each one of us is a distinct individual. And if you doubt that right now, your whole value system would collapse.
Right.
So just be practical. If right now you decided that you are not a distinct individual, your entire premise for living and existing would collapse.
Absolutely.
Everything would collapse. You wouldn't even have the legs to move forward with an alternative plan.
Yeah.
Because your distinctive individuality has been negated. As soon as you do that, there is nothing further to do. So ask yourself if that is a practical plan for anything.
Yeah. Well, I think this is something that I hear people describe, and it's certainly something that I've experienced in meditation, where I go to the edge of me, and the only thing that's stopping me is my fear of not existing anymore, fear of not having any of those identities.
Just imagine that you wouldn't have that fear if you had a guru, and you did practices that gave you a direct perception of yourself. See, this is the difference between thinking and practice.
Right.
So if you have direct realization of yourself as immortal, once you actually have that, then everything changes because you don't waver. You don't doubt it. You don't come back and say, maybe I am this body. Maybe I could be. Oh, no, I don't think so. You wouldn't go into that state. You would just be completely clear of who you are, on who you are. See? So that is the state of Brahman realization. I am from Brahman. I'm not from here. That's why we keep getting rudely moved around here. We're on a visitor's visa, and we're not from here.
No permanent
residence.
residence.
You want to cease to exist. Is that, after all this kerfluffle, does ceasing to exist sound like a reasonable alternative? And if it does, I can only say you must have had a really bad day.
Right.
If at the end of today you go, I just want to cease to exist.
Do you
that
know?
Was a rough day.
No, but there's a weird irony to it, because in meditation it is kind of my starting point. The ceasing to be Markabadi. Dissolving. Literally, I imagine and surrender to not having a point of perception. Not having a locality of
within
the eye.
matter, you mean?
Yeah, within anything I know.
That's not what I'm talking about. Your point of perception in yoga is not within matter. That is the point. That's where you start not having a point of perception within matter. You start changing the direction of your point of perception, and therefore, if you don't have the word Brahman, you don't know where to point.
Right. My first teacher said changing the center of gravity away from the matter, away from the lock into the being.
Well, here's something that's important to understand. There are many brilliant teachers who are not giving the entire picture of Vedic knowledge, but they're giving an important piece of various forms of knowledge. So each one of them is valuable in as much as they know what they know. Mm-hmm. And this is why the Vedic culture is unique, because we look at everyone who's in pursuit of ultimate understanding with great respect. And we speak of them that way and treat them that way. Mm-hmm. But we don't say that they know everything until they answer all the right questions. So questions and answers is how you proceed through the knowledge. And that's why language, again, is so important. If I don't give you new words in my answers, you're stuck with the material words that you've had. But those words don't reflect a reality beyond matter. Therefore, Sanskrit is the programming language of yogis. And if you leave that out, you are not a yogi. Mm-hmm. You may be all kinds of interesting things, but you are not a yogi.
Amazing. Wow. Jeffrey Armstrong, thank you so much. What a pleasure, and what a deep wisdom combined with actual states of realization you present. Tell us, how can people get involved with what you're doing and see more of you?
Well, we teach regularly online. We have classes once a month for our regular students. People can see me both as a teacher, the way we were just doing. I'm also a Vedic astrologer, and I help people to understand the vehicle that they're driving in and how to drive it better and more usefully. And so jeffreyarmstrong.com, and I have a number of YouTubes online under similar names. My Sanskrit name is Kavindra Rishi.
Kavindra Rishi.
So you'll see me as either Kavindra Rishi or Jeffrey Armstrong. Because the idea is when you learn the Vedic knowledge, you add to your birth self another name given to you by a guru or teacher usually, which is your identity as a seeker of Brahman rather than just born to such and such a family.
Right.
We all need to be born to such and such a family, bless their hearts. But that's the beginning, not the goal. Right. Ask most people, would you like to become exactly like your parents? They'll say, with all due respect, no.
Yeah.
And so clearly this is a starting point. So that's your birth name. And then the place where you're heading toward eventually defines the majority of your action. So my dedication for the last 50 years, and especially the last 23, has full-time been teaching this Vedic knowledge. It's very nice of you to have me online with you, Mark.
Such an honor, such a...
ask very intelligent questions. Thank you.
Such a privilege. Thanks, Jeffrey. And I know we tried to get on a few times, but we had some tech issues, but finally we got there. It's been such a pleasure. Thank you for all the work you do, sharing the light and intelligently sharing the light and re-sharing the wisdom of India without the colonization aspect from that Absolutely. Humble.
And you and I met in the context of your work with the First Nations and the Bhakti Fest. So this is a common thread for all people in the yogic culture. And that is, we see all living entities the same way, meaning we see their divinity, we see their potential greatness. We want to extract it. We don't look at them prejudicially. So we look at all the indigenous cultures as carriers for great wisdom. And even if there's a limit to how much, that doesn't mean we should not honor them, respect them, learn what they were teaching. So this is where you and I began our friendship, is in the context of that with Chase Iron Eyes and with other various important thinkers of our time. And at Bhakti Fest, the assembling of those thinkers helps us all to get access to this knowledge. So it's a joy to know you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Jeffrey.